One of the things I think unique to Platypii are our three development themes, or three leadership development themes. And while they may sound like labels that others have used, obviously we're meaning them in a very different way. And in order to develop yourself as a leader, we're looking at in the three domains of, number one, obviously leading others. And that often is where most people start and stop in terms of understanding leadership. But there's also the idea of leading yourself, and what that actually means. Now, some other places may use that term, but we're using it very, very differently here at Platypii. But the third element, which I've not seen talked about in almost any other place, is the idea of leading your conditions. Now, what does that mean? Well, as you know, this came from our behavioral modeling, our neurobehavioral modeling research from many years ago, looking at leaders that can do transformational change in their schools. And one of those leaders in particular led by leading their conditions or altering the conditions. Now, this is critical because, as we know in biology, the living organism learns via its interaction between itself and its environment. Very strongly is the work of Professor Clare Graves, and he was also very quick to point out that people's evolutionary process, their ability to evolve themselves internally in their own psychology and their own value systems, is in response to changes in conditions. And of course, it goes hand in hand. It seems to be, just the fundamental fact of this dynamic between one's conditions and oneself, and to the degree that one can fit your conditions appropriately. And if you don't fit in nature, you get to go extinct. Your environment, your conditions win, right? And you know that you don't have the right psychological fit as a leader when you are struggling with your external conditions. Now, some conditions are there because there's not a lot you can do with them. It's the classic serenity prayer. Like, these are things you can't change, so you have to learn how to work with it. But there are other things you can change. And that's part of your job as a leader, is to lead the conditions that you and your people and your staff and everybody and your students, that they have to operate within. Certain conditions are it. You just have to adapt to them. But other times, you have to not just adapt, you have to evolve to become the kind of leader that can alter your conditions. And that takes a lot of consciousness on your part. And that's why that other element that we talk about, leading yourself, is absolutely critical. Your capacity to work on your own psychology as a leader, your own identity, to evolve as someone who can respond well and effectively in complex, challenging situations. It's what's known as vertical change in our particular field, evolving your psychology, evolving your value systems, evolving your identity, upgrading your belief systems, and really living into, and that's why it's a journey, why we say that leadership is a journey into authenticity. It's about evolving yourself into someone who is here to fulfill a purpose, a mission that is here to contribute and serve others. And for most people, we have to grow into that. We have to evolve into that. It's just a lot easier to capitulate and do it easy, or blame other people, or just say, look, it's too hard, it's not for me, and we'll let someone else do it. But if you're the one that can see it, and you're the one who has the capacity to make it different, then it's about you to respond. And that's what it means to lead yourself. When there are times when you even doubt yourself, but if you actually do what we call the generative inner work, and we give you a lot of methods for this, where you can actually go inside and actually talk to a more authentic voice within yourself, you'll find that the voice that's saying it's too hard, I want to quit, I don't know if I want to do it, that's not your real voice. That's just your conditioned voice. A much truer, more authentic voice is actually saying, yeah, but this is why you're here. This is your calling. This is up to you now, right? Deep down, at the end of your life, are you going to be proud of yourself saying you gave up on this one? Or is there, as an educator, a burning fire that's always there inside of you that never goes out at some level? And you need to lead yourself to become the kind of leader you need to be to lead your conditions. And when you can do that, then we can look at leading others. Until then, you can try and lead others, but if you're not working on yourself and you're not altering your conditions, all you're doing is bossing people around. All you're doing is telling them what they ought to be doing, and you're gonna capitulate once again as soon as they arc up. As soon as they resist, as soon as they fight back, you're going to start blaming them again because you haven't bothered leading yourself. And then you're going to complain about your conditions, saying, oh, it's the culture, or it's the people, or it's the morale, or it's their bad attitude. You're the leader. It's none of that. It's actually about you. It starts with you and your relationship to your environment and your relationship to other people and your relationship to yourself. And that's why we think Platypii's leadership development themes are not only unique, they're not only highly adaptive, but they're, well, in our language, they're highly generative. It's a call to one's personal evolution, and it's a journey into exploring, evolving one's authenticity.
Excellent. I think some of the things that are perhaps interesting to note on top of what you've just said is, or in conjunction with what you've just said, is that sometimes it's actually success that gets in the road. And so someone can have success as a principal or in any leadership role under certain conditions, and then they stop leading themselves because they've done okay. They've achieved. They've got recognition. They've done really well. So they know it now. And so then, and we've seen it in lots of different contexts, but then they go to a different set of conditions, or conditions change on them, or they go to a different place, and they just keep repeating what made them successful in the first place, and it doesn't work. And then they blame the people, the others around them, or the conditions, as you said, rather than leading themselves through it. And leading yourself almost demands a continual self-reflection, self-questioning, to continue to grow and to take note of the conditions and to adapt all the time. But I think in both ways, success can get in the way. I mean, someone gets successful at it, and so they stop that reflection. They feel like they've got it now. They've got a handle on it. They're really good. They might have won the award, whatever. And then it kind of, everything reinforces how they did things as the way to be successful. And so you can get stagnancy in the leadership and problems there.